Good afternoon, everybody. Phil Simons and Justin Beach here with Columbia Grain in your Friday afternoon weekly grain market recap. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen with you and let's navigate over to our favorite website, columbiagrain.com. And in the upper right-hand section, we can go to the Producer Solutions tab, and that'll take us over to our Producer Solutions link. But Justin, it felt like we were going like about 100 miles an hour this week. But let's take a look and see what we actually saw in the futures markets and how things actually settled out for the week here. When we look at the left-hand side of the screen, corn for new crop specifically, we had a 20-cent range in corn. And we actually wound the week up with only a net gain of 9 cents of that 20-cent range. Soybeans, new crop soybeans, we had an overall 46-cent range there and a weekly change of 28 cents to the positive. So that was kind of nice. Now, when we turn the page and we start to look at the wheat complex, it did feel like we were really going about 100 miles an hour. But you can see with Kansas new crop September, we had a 39-cent range, but on the week we only gained a penny, which is kind of interesting when you look at what the pricing action that we had this week. The other thing with Chicago, we had a weekly range of 37 cents, but we were able to hold on to 7 cents of that overall range. And in Minneapolis, the spread there between Kansas and Minneapolis is pretty interesting. You know, when you look at the weekly changes, Minneapolis was actually up 19 cents compared to Kansas, only up a penny. So kind of interesting. But with that, I mean, what's your take on what we saw in the market here this week?
Yeah, so I think, it felt like we were up more, right? There was a lot of producer engagement. These cash price levels, again, triggered a lot of movement. We saw a lot transact this week. So there was kind of a perfect cocktail of items here just to get the market moving and increase the volatility that we have seen. One, dryness in Russia and Ukraine. We also continue to see deteriorating crop conditions on the southern plains and across the U.S. Also, the technical structure of charts looks much better. Casey went and tested that 200-day moving average a couple of times this week.
Yeah, like you were saying, the crop conditions in the U.S. I'm going to share a screen with us again. Let's just take a look at the winter wheat ratings. With what we're seeing right now from earlier this week, they came out at 49%.
Yep.
Good to excellent, which was down just 1 percentage point from the previous week. But again, it's up significantly more from where we were last year, right at this time. But Montana did take a little bit of a step back.
Absolutely.
In the good to excellent. I think it was down 8 or 9%.
8% week on week. But again, if you zoom out a couple of weeks, you were looking at 55% nationally 2 weeks ago. So we're hearing good reports out of Montana. We're certainly looking for precip and not out of the woods here.
Yeah, definitely. So again, this week has been another prime example of a weather market in full swing right now. We've got so many different factors that are impacting the cash markets that are also impacting the futures market. So really just can't overemphasize the importance of getting your orders out there and working, and really from anything from hedge to arrive contracts, basis contracts, accumulator contracts, specifically looking at the curve really to new crop, because new crop, quite honestly, is just around the corner.
Right.
And it's going to be here before we know it. And when we do see these kind of price swings that we've been seeing, and the producers have been, engaging, to a certain degree with new crop, which is great.
Absolutely.
And we just really need to continue to really kind of feed that market, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, we've got carries out, as far as the eye can see in Mini and KC, larger in Kansas City. So that's, making me pretty hopeful here. But one thing we did see this week is, global buyers kind of backed off their interest levels with higher prices. And that, again, was met with producer selling, but we're starting off with better than normal spring wheat sales off the PNW going into new crop, and winter wheat continues to be quiet. And I think everyone's seeing that with cash price spreads at the pit. The Minneapolis July versus the Kansas City July this week was a real hot tamale. We at one point traded 38 and we traded nearly 80. So that spread was on the move, and it'll continue to be a huge topic for discussion going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. I really do appreciate the rundown, Justin. It's great to kind of get a different take in terms of what's actually moving the markets and what we're looking at. So appreciate you having the impact and the input on it for the week here. Other than that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up here. looks like it's going to be a fairly decent weekend around. So remember, just get your orders out there and working, get a hold of your local merchandisers, your managers and your buyers, and get your orders out there and working, because if they aren't working, you're guaranteed that you won't sell at the price that you really, really want. So be sure to get your orders out there and working.
Thanks
Other
for
than
having
that,
me.
what's that?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, absolutely. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up for the week here. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll talk with you next week. And remember, if you can drink it, don't trade it. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk with you next week.